Okay, welcome to Hopeifiers, the last Hopeifiers for 2022. I am the acapellist Alan Friesen. With me is Brother Scott Sweeman. How are you today, Brother Scott?
I'm doing great, Al. I'm excited for our last show of 2022 and getting ready for the upcoming new year.
That's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Like you've done some research even. This is going to be serious, serious
I
value this
have.
show.
You bet. Can you hear me all right? I got rid of my microphone just so we didn't have that problem we've had the last 2 weeks of cutting in and out. So,
Yeah, no, I can hear you fine. Yeah,
oh, good. Okay, great. So we're not going
cool.
to have to worry about that.
Was Santa good to you, Scott?
Santa was very good to me. Absolutely. As you know, I know that your daughter made it up for Christmas, and
Yes.
that was wonderful. Yay to
Yes,
Caitlin
that
for all
was.
her traveling. Probably wasn't easy on her. Did she get delayed at all?
Oh man, when she went home yesterday. No, the day before yesterday. Yeah, she went home and she left here at 5 o'clock to go to Calgary to catch a plane, and then she didn't actually land in Atlanta again until it was 10 o'clock. Then, yeah, 10 o'clock next morning. So from
Oh
11 o'clock she gets on the plane, and 10 o'clock next morning she's in Atlanta. So yeah,
wow. Yeah, you
yeah,
know our friend Dennis.
yes.
Uh, he was flying home from Edmonton to Lethbridge, which is normally what, a couple hours max, I think, not too long. And so he went on in the afternoon, I think on Friday, 3 or 4 o'clock, and didn't get home until late Saturday night. Like
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was terrible. He,
That is horrible. Oh my goodness.
yeah, he spent the night in Calgary, I think, at the airport. He couldn't leave the airport. He had to stay at the airport. And at first they were delayed in Edmonton, couldn't take off. And then he finally got a flight out to Calgary, and then that was it. They were telling people if they weren't already at the airport and waiting to get on an airplane to turn around and go home, or if they were from out of town to get a hotel because they just were shutting everything down. And I can't imagine sitting in Calgary, so close to home in Lethbridge for the holidays, and then being told that, yeah, basically, forget it, you're spending the night here. So,
Yeah. That's
but you know,
yeah.
Dennis, he stayed positive, and he did get home the next day, and was happy to be home with family. So he was good. So
There was a
yeah,
time when airlines kinda like they had a schedule and they stayed with them, like, they actually got
yeah.
passengers to places where they said they were going to, right? There was a time when that happened, but not
I
anymore.
remember being on airlines, and I remember the first time I flew down to Pittsburgh. I was 16, turning 17, and it was November or something. And there was a huge storm that flew in, and the plane basically landed sideways. And they didn't cancel for anything, like you said. I don't know if liability insurance was cheaper then, or expectations were different, but yeah, those guys. I'm looking redder than my background here, so I'm gonna turn that up. My red background, as you can see, is for the year of the rabbit. We'll talk about that for a minute. But yeah, planes, I think, just don't take the risk they used to, and maybe like you said, they used to never cancel. They would keep going no matter what, and you'd sit on the runway for 2 or 3 hours, but they weren't canceling that flight. No way.
No, no.
So yeah, they used to have
Scott,
to.
you've got, like, a whole bunch of things put together for tonight, right?
I do. Yep. Yeah. Do
Alright.
you want to get right onto those things? Okay. So as you can see, my background, we've got a rabbit there in the Chinese zodiac. Zodiac, I hear it referred to as the zodiac, which I think is kind of cute. We're in the year of the rabbit, and that starts in January 22nd, I think. Do you know your Chinese zodiac sign, pal?
Nope.
Oh, when we were in Japan, it was a big deal. So of course I learned I'm a fire horse. There's an animal, and then there's an element: water, iron, fire, wood, maybe is the other one. And yeah, the girls are metal snakes or dragons, and I'm a fire horse, which is not so good if you're a female. They used to actually forbid them from getting married, and even at sometimes throughout history executed them. They thought they would kill their husbands. Yeah, it was very serious to be. A lot of women in Asia wouldn't admit to being a fire horse. And these things rotate in a cycle of, what, every so many
Interesting.
years. Yeah. Anyway, so the first thing I did was look at some of the things that are supposed to be coming up for 2023. And under the zodiac, rabbits are vigilant, witty, quick-minded, and ingenious. And it depends on what your sign is, but the year of the rabbit is supposed to be a good year. It's a positive year. In a lot of respects, people are looking forward to it. Incidentally, it was the first year we went to Japan. The first year that changed over was a year of the rabbit. So it was a very good year for us, and we're always excited to see the year of the rabbit come up. So if you're interested in those things, have a look, search the year of the rabbit, and you can search your own sign and see how compatible you're going to be. I don't know if you can see, I'm wearing my grandfather's ruby ring. He bequeathed it to me on passing. And one of the things that I'm supposed to do as a fire horse is I'm supposed to wear a ruby for 2023 to protect me from evil and help bring good luck. Now I'm supposed to put a statue of a turtle under the auspicious study of Feng Shui. I'm supposed to put a turtle figurine pointed towards my door to help keep bad out and good in. So
wow.
yeah,
How did you know you were a fire horse?
You can look it up very easily. All you need is the year that you were born, and that tells you what you are, both your zodiac sign and what element you are.
Cool. Okay.
So it's pretty interesting. It's pretty popular in Asia. A lot of people here find it popular. I did a quick search online, and there's a lot of Feng Shui stores in Canada. Admittedly, they're mostly in Vancouver and in Toronto, but a lot of people celebrate the Chinese New Year as well as the calendar New Year. The calendar.
Is the Feng Shui going to be specific for year of rabbit? Is that kind of what you're saying? Like you make the Feng Shui work with the year that you're in?
Yeah, for you. So there are signs that are compatible with the rabbit, fire horse being one of them, or horses being one of them anyway. And so rabbit is horse, dog, boar or pig, and dragon or snake. So those are the ones that are the most compatible with rabbit sign. So those people born under that sign are going to have a pretty positive year in 2023. And then there's other people that are in conflict with the year of the rabbit, and they have to be careful. They have to, be on their toes and watch out for certain things depending on what's going on. So it's interesting. Cool. If you haven't, it's I had the pleasure of teaching a professional astrologer. She was Japanese, but she was in like the top 20 in the world astrologers, and she used to travel all over the world giving lectures, and when she did a reading, it took her about 2 months to do somebody's reading, and she would take not only the time, so not only the date, the year, the date, the coordinates of where you were born, the minute you were born, and then from there they create a star chart that tells them where all of the planets and stars are in relationship to that exact moment and place, and then they read that information, and it's incredibly complex. It's like a master class in engineering. She showed me her notes on a reading she was doing for somebody in the US. Incredibly expensive. I mean, she only did like 10 of them a year, but it was incredible amount of data gathering, and then the actual interpreting of that data. So most of us see it in the Sunday paper and think, oh, that's cute, and have a laugh and move on from there. But it's a lot more serious than that, both in Western cultures and Eastern cultures. So if you're interested, it's easy to find online, find out what sign you are, both in the zodiac and the zodiac, and have a look at it. I know that in our house, we had a fun family look at it as a group, and it gave us some really, we're lucky. All of us are either rabbit, dog, a boar, or snake. So we're all in the good zone for 2023.
So the Sweetman household is guaranteed a great year of the rabbit because they're all the right animals. Nice. Okay.
And cool. we have some months we're supposed to avoid. And everyone has good months and bad months, and then good days and bad days. And it's fun, and if you believe in it, great. Like, I'm not saying that it's a joke, but it is fun even for people who don't believe to have a look at how complex and how interesting it can be. It is a type of fortune telling. I had a really good friend going to university, and he was studying to be a minister, and I was studying comparative religion when I was here in University of Lethbridge. And so I would have books on the occult, and at one time I was studying the imagery of tarot cards, and he used to steal them out of my house and burn them because he was convinced that it was going to lead me to the devil. He was a dear friend. He's still a minister, so I won't say his name. But he was quite serious. He thought that divination is not something that's considered cool.
He was
in the Bible.
Save you from the devil, was he? Good.
He was.
What a good friend. What a good friend.
So he was. Yeah, I had another friend that we were on a roller coaster that was going off. We thought it was going off its rails, but apparently it wasn't. And he said, "Don't die." He said, "I don't want to have to chase you all over hell for the money that you owe me." So I thought that was quite clever too. So, yeah. Anyway, getting back to 2023, have a look at the Year of the Rabbit. A lot of fun things going on in and around Lethbridge. There's associations that celebrate the Year of the Rabbit. Look it up. It's very, very interesting. What we're going to start out talking about tonight, though, is some predictions, reasons to have hope in 2023. I've pulled some biggies down that if these don't give you hope, man, you're really cynical, because these are some good things going on. The first one is the one that I like a lot, and this comes from World Vision. They're a religious organization that works throughout the world for the betterment of humankind, and they work in all over the world, lots of countries, both developed and underdeveloped countries. And they put out the first one that I shared with you last week that really got me fired up about this topic. And that's that in 2023, over 80% of women worldwide will be delivering their babies with skilled and professional assistance. Now, that's a huge thing. So according to UNICEF, 8 in 10 women aged 15 to 49 globally are on the brink of breaking that 80% margin of having their babies with the help of a doctor, a nurse, a doula, a midwife, etc. And why that's so important is that especially in underdeveloped countries or countries where everyone doesn't have access to immediate care of medicine, giving birth is a dangerous proposition, both for the mother and for the baby. And this is a really big thing.
So worldwide, the point you're making is worldwide, 80% of the women who deliver babies in 2023 are going to have medical support or support for that delivery. Yes?
Yes, and that represents millions around the world, millions of lives saved, both the infant and the mother. And if you're interested, you can go on the UNICEF website and look at they've got a section for children, worldwide statistics on children, and you'll find it there. And literally millions of babies and moms.
Well, that is obviously really good news. So so less moms and babies dying. Yeah, that's awesome.
And the other thing, and this was sort of World Vision's take on it, is that not only does it save those lives, that the children have a much better chance of growing up strong and healthy, because with the assistance of a professional, a lot of conditions that can, if untreated or uncorrected, become very handicapping or death-inducing, fatal. That's the word I was looking for. But if somebody's there who can recognize the signs and has training, that often they can get further help or assistance or be aware of the situation, and the life of that being will be greatly improved because of that, and their chances for survival and being healthy greatly increases. So not only do we have that breaking that 80% mark, we also have, and it's harder to calculate, but those children who are going to grow up much healthier and happier because of that.
Cool. That's great.
Was Caitlin born no problems, very healthy?
Yes. Well, Corolla would say there was some effort involved, but it looked pretty simple to me.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, the twins, they had something called twin-to-twin transference syndrome, and that's where their veins get the blood flow and everything that's feeding them gets crossed over. So one twin's heart was beating for both of them, and one twin's renal system was processing all the waste for both of them. And
Ooh.
it traditionally has been deadly. They in the past didn't survive. But we were very lucky, and the twins were far enough along. They were born a month and a half early, induced cesarean section, and they spent a month and a half in neonatal care. And of course, they're fine today. But there was an example where their birth weight was very, very small, and in the past, they would have for sure had difficulties maturing. But because we had very good help and medicine in Japan, they grew up perfectly normal and normal's relative, but perfectly healthy and happy, except when their dad makes them angry.
Uh-huh.
And I'm so happy to see that spreading across the world and not just in developed countries.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is definitely a reason for optimism, reason for hope.
Exactly. And so keep that in mind in 2023. I know that locally we've got a doctor shortage, and there's a lot of people that don't have doctors in Lethbridge right now. And
I
that's a
I believe I'm told that there's only one OB/GYN in Lethbridge, and that person is on stress leave. Like,
yeah,
is not
that's
not helping with deliveries right now because of their health, right?
yeah,
So,
that's very, very true. And I know that people with checkups or in need of that kind of care are being shifted to Calgary, Edmonton, and they're looking at 4 or 5 months wait, and that's with a referral when there's already an established issue.
yeah,
So that
yeah.
having been said, I think that let's put that in perspective, that globally there's a lot more people that are getting care at the moment there of birth, and that's extremely important. And even though we're suffering a shortage right now, I think we need to rejoice in that humankind is getting more care and is getting more help, and more babies are surviving and growing up to be productive members of society with health and vigor. So I agree with you. That's a great, great thing. Another one. This one kind of blew me away, and this one is to do with energy. Did you notice your utility bill went crazy last couple months?
Yes.
That was a loaded question because I knew that it did. Yeah, they all have, right? But if you
Yeah.
have to heat an arena or a barn or a shop or something, wow. Yeah, families, especially those right on the borderline of the poverty level, small business owners, the cost of energy in an energy producing rich country is astronomical. I don't know how they're surviving in Europe with the problems caused by the Russian invasion of the Ukraine or the conflict that's going on there. But there's hope on the horizon, and this comes out of the New York Times. We're getting closer to a source of new energy, and they've made a recent in 2022 a major breakthrough in nuclear fusion, and that's different than what we have now, which is a fission reactor. I'm not a physicist, but I think that's the difference. Anyway, and investors are going crazy. There's a lot of people jumping into this because that type of energy, it's what powers the sun and the stars. And if it can be deployed on a large scale, it really offer a limitless supply of energy and pollution-free energy to the world. And that's sort of the holy grail of energy. And due to some developments and some research breakthroughs in 2022, a lot of people are saying that we're going to make great headway in that area in 2023. And
Excellent. Yeah, I mean,
big
energy
money's
that
jumping into it, which is always a good sign.
yes. Affordable energy, super important. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, as I've traveled in different places around the world, the access to fresh water is got to be the biggest, right? If there's no access to fresh water, boy, the people suffer like horribly. Life is
Mhm.
not good for the majority of the population. but then access to an energy source relative to the pollution is really important. Like, I know I've been to places where they have energy, but it's from coal burning energy and things, the old style that didn't have reburners and things on them, and they just spewed out, carcinogenic coal fumes and things. And so that was sort of debatable. But we're talking here is pollution free and really limitless. So that was pretty exciting. And
so where is fission energy in terms of like when are you and I going to be having fission energy powering our home?
Well, until this year, and this is a huge breakthrough, Al, until this year, they've been able to produce fusion reactions, but it consumed more energy than it produced. And that's been the key. So we've been able to reproduce it, but it wasn't a net sum gain. It was a net sum loss. But this year, a scientist at Lawrence, I'm reading, so I want to get it right, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in California reached the milestone where they created a reaction that produced more energy than it consumed, which is a huge thing. First time ever in human history has that occurred, and that's got people excited again. It was almost written off as something that, yeah, sounds nice on paper, but just isn't going to happen now. So we've moved from probably not possible to about a decade away. That's what they're predicting now. So they think that within a few decades at least, maybe not a decade, but a few decades, that to me sounds like less than 5, more than 2 when they say a few decades. They think that it'll become a practical power source, and that maybe not you or I, but maybe our kids will actually be hooking up their houses, their businesses, their factories, etc., to a limitless pollution source of energy, which is really exciting.
It is.
So
it is.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that we can all be hopeful for. And in the meantime, hope that we can sort of make headway in distributing energy in a more efficient way and a more cost-effective way.
So is this what Nikolai Tesla was talking about, like when he was alive, about free energy for everybody and limitless energy? Is that what it was? The same process?
Along that lines. And Nicholas Tesla, we could do a couple of shows on him. He's a favorite of Fleur. She did a bunch of research on him when she was in university. And he had a couple of sources. And one of them was electromagnetic. And I'm not sure what the source of reaction was there. But certainly about that time is when they started to look at fusion, as they started to understand the process of how the sun works and the reaction that occurs there, and that led to where we are now. So yeah, certainly that time's when part of me says that Nikola Tesla had a little different take on it, was trying to create an electromagnetic source, but that could be science fiction. I read a lot of science fiction as a kid, so that could be stuck in my head too. Fleur would be the expert on that. That's a great question. Are you into Tesla? Are you a Tesla groupie?
Well, just I've read a little bit about him. He was a very odd man, but a very, ingenious type guy. Not unlike Elon Musk, a very odd man who's just like incredibly sees the world incredibly different than the rest of the world, right? So, or the rest of us. So.
It's not on my list, but since you bring up Elon Musk, I have to say one of the things to look forward in 2023 is more of his snarky comments at his detractors on Twitter. I log into Twitter about once a week just to read how he's laying a smackdown on the people that are harassing him and haranguing him on his own platform. So it's there'll be more of that for sure in 2023.
Oh yeah.
Although he said he's going to step down from the top position in Twitter, right? He made a commitment to do that.
Yeah, he had 57% of the Twitter people said that he should step down. So
yeah, he should have left it up longer. I think a lot of us just missed that, because I would have voted for him to stay just because he's so interesting.
He is that.
Yeah, like him or hate him, he's very interesting. Have you heard of the whole AI thing that's going on, Al? The
AI?
artificial intelligence.
Some.
Yeah.
I know that about the Neuralink that Elon Musk's company Neuralink is creating, and about the whole more uh, household type robots to do chores type thing that you buy a robot as a and that kind of thing. And I can see there being big value for people living in their own homes that use the robot to as a domestic care type thing to help them get through their days and get up from getting out of a chair if they need that assistance or those kind of things. So that's really all I know, but you fill me in. What do you know?
I'm gonna. In November, a company called OpenAI released an entity. Depends on where you stand on that line. Called Chat GPT. Have you heard of that one, Al? That you make the probably very smart choice of not watching daily news. But Chat GPT is a big viral hit right now, and it was designed for automated writing. And initially, that's what OpenAI said they created it for. But it learns at a crazy rate. And so I was listening to a lawyer who had been involved in AI for a long time, and he did some testing on the system. But if you ask it to write you a university level paper on physics, if you ask it to write a high school play, it can do all of these things. And the lawyer that I just watched a podcast that he did, he's a lawyer in Nebraska, I think, a practicing lawyer. And he asked it to do a bunch of legal projects, and the results were as good as he could have done. He said, if I met a client and was able to ask a whole bunch of questions and, fine tune it. But if somebody just called up and said, I need a codicil for this, or I need this type of contract, he said that Chat GPT did as well as he could have done. That he couldn't produce a product that was any better and was any more legally binding than this AI could produce. And in the art world,
Scott, like, what AI, most of the time people view AI as like a threat to working class people, a threat to blue collar type folks, right? Going to take jobs away from blue collar people, right? And so this is like a lawyer, like, I wouldn't have never clicked that, in this case, this lawyer could view this as something that is a detriment to their long-term career, right? Because you buy one of these machines and boom, boom.
Yeah, his point was even more that right now the world economy is based on knowledge and skills that one person has and another person doesn't have.
Right.
Now, other people would argue that it's resource-based, but of course, to get resources, you need knowledge and skills. Oil in the ground doesn't help you if you don't have the knowledge to find it, if you don't have the people and the equipment to get it out of the ground, to process it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So his premise was that right now the world economy is based on one person, one group, one area has specific knowledge or skills that another area, group, person, industry, et cetera, doesn't have. So they trade it or sell it to them at a profit, and that's what keeps everything moving in the world. He said from his experience with Chat GPT that in the very near future, knowledge will no longer be something you can sell, because everyone will have access to the knowledge of everyone else. Because he said, as everyone queries Chat GPT, it learns more. So when you ask it questions, it learns from you and it learns from the research it does, right? So go ahead.
I was just gonna say Chat GTP, is this like where an individual buys it? Like, is this kind of the idea that it's no, okay.
You can just log in, but you can't
Oh.
now because it's so busy. You have to request access to it. And then last time I tried to get onto it, it said I had a waiting list and it would contact me when I could have access to it. And then you can ask it some queries and take it and do whatever you want to do with it. And a lot of companies have said they've come up with similar things, but this lawyer was speaking specifically about Chat GPT and how that technology it grows and learns exponentially faster than humans can. So
Mhm.
it collects information really only limited by the bandwidth that it can pull in information and where it can get it from. Sort of gets on the edge of sci-fi at the point.
So back to the lawyer who was, talking about this and saying that, you won't have to pay for knowledge because everybody will have this knowledge.
Yeah.
Then what does that mean then in terms of income requirements for those people who are knowledge workers? Like, how does that work then? Is it like, are we evolving to a basic income type thing? So it doesn't matter what it is you're going to do. Everybody gets this level of basic income and then they pursue whatever, path in their life is most intriguing for them. Is that kind of how the world vision will look in the future, do you think? Or how do you envision that?
Well, I think that he's right. When I was in high school, they did an experiment only for the 2 years that I was there. I left and went to college before grade 12, but we didn't learn facts. Anything that we could look up wasn't taught to us. The idea was that we were taught how to learn and how to problem solve rather than a date. Like today, I wear a watch that I can ask it, what year did Columbus sail the ocean blue? I don't have to remember the little rhyme that will tell me, all of that basic information. Right now, you can ask, I won't say her name because she'll wake up and interrupt our conversation, but starts with G and ends with an E. And all of that technology is all around us. So a person has to ask, learning all of that rote information, was it a valuable use of our time? And they did an experiment, as I said, in our school division when I was there, and we didn't learn that stuff. We learned how to problem solve and how to imagine and create, and maybe that's why I'm flaky sometimes. I don't know, but I do think that we're going to have to accept that that type of information will be out there, and we have devices now that gives us instantaneous access to all of that information. We all know it's clumsy. I mean, the ones that are in our home that'll turn on our lights and answer simple questions often make great mistakes, and are often we ask her to play music and just make, Alexa play, and it comes up with an interpretation of whatever it thinks it heard, and it's quite funny sometimes. But with
by Imagine Dragons from Apple Music.
Alexa's
See,
helping. How nice.
nice. See, just on cue, you think I planned that, didn't you? Alexa, cancel. So something by Imagine Dragons, she thought was what I was asking for.
What you were looking for. Nice.
Yeah, but apparently Chat GP is so far beyond that. It's scary. And I know in education, because we have so many people in education in our house, people are concerned about it because it's been a cornerstone of education, writing papers and dissertations and those types of things, where now this chatbot this AI can do it as well as students or better. And Fleur was sharing with me that she was recently in a conference. They were talking about it, and they said that students have gotten wise, that they add in spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes. They'll request one of these papers, and then they'll edit it to make it worse than it is, so that the professors, teachers, educators don't recognize that it's been created by one of these AIs.
Mm.
So the students are actually dumbing the product down so that it looks like it was made by a human and not an AI, which is kind of scary. But we're talking about
And the
things.
student, what value is the student getting in this process if they don't write the paper? Like, how are they learning in this process if they get the computer to write the paper and make mistakes, so it's going to be sellable to the prof, right?
Yeah, but
Wow,
as we've discussed, when you and I were 15 years old, whether we were actually getting anything out of school or not was of very little significance compared to how many girls we were trying to date, or what our car was at the time, or those
Yeah.
types of things. So I don't know if most youth see the value in those things at the time, right?
Right.
Of course, now we do, but
Right.
it's a little late. We can go back to school and those things. So yeah, I think from everything I've heard, the world's a changing, brother. It's like when the
Yeah.
internet came out. I know when it first came out. Yes, I'm that old, and I was in the industry then. I was working with the people that were helping build the infrastructure in Canada, at least SAT Canada. A lot of people thought, oh, this will never, it was slow and it was cumbersome and it was noisy and it took forever. And it's like I could get an encyclopedia and get the information faster than you can out of that thing. And
Yeah,
they were,
especially
it was
Scott,
right.
do you remember this sound? The fax modem, all the signals and the beeps and the squeals and yeah. That's not a very good impersonation of it, but you know what it sounds like. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that in the beginning, by the time you found and downloaded a racy picture off the internet, you could run down to the drugstore, buy a copy of a paperback magazine, and get home before it was actually downloaded on the internet.
Yes.
So, yeah, not such a big thing. But the report I was reading about, and this is where I get to the positive aspects of 2023, is that yes, these types of programs are going to change our reality. Anyone who doesn't believe that just hasn't looked at them in any detail, because obviously when you can have a free program write you a legal document that a lawyer says is as legally binding as anything he could write in the state of Nebraska, unless they have really loose legal laws in Nebraska, which I don't think they do. That's going to change things. Certainly it is.
No question.
A lot of people are really, bots are going to take over. We, have to stop the evil singularity from occurring. Skynet's going to happen. That was the Terminator robot. It was Skynet before that. But the paper that I was reading on it, that AI experts insist that there's a point where that becomes limited. And it doesn't matter how much information or how fast an AI can process it. They will never have the ability of a human being to associate random pieces of information in a meaningful way. That's unique to humans, according to experts who look at it. And I think that, it'll make a lot of grunt work easier. It'll make a lot of that sort of legal aid stuff, record keeping, all of those things will be easier. And I think that it'll free up students from learning stuff that quite honestly changes. I mean, most of the stuff that I learned about the exploration of North America has turned into the conquest of North America. And we found out that a lot of the facts that we were taught aren't actually fact. They were, the people who did it were writing the information down. So, there's a lot of things like that. But I read a really cool quote the other day that I think answers this question. And it said that you can study for knowledge, but you can only gain wisdom through observation.
Observation or experience, or both?
I think that's what they mean. I think that's the same.
Yeah.
Observing what happens when two things that interact, right? And I think that that's very true about the human condition, is we have the ability to put together divergent pieces or actions or the ripples of the universe and put them together in a way that makes meaningful sense. And, that's not on the horizon. And that's what I'm getting to in our hope for 2023, is although we're going to see a huge shift in a lot of things, we're still unique. And we're unique in the animal kingdom. We're unique, as far as we know so far in the universe. I'm not saying there's not other life out there, but there's probably not another planet where the beings are exactly the way we are. So we are unique. And as long as we embrace our uniqueness and find value in what's unique, then these changes are positive. If we try and resist them and we try and, teach our children the same way we did 60 years ago, then we'll get hurt in the process. But I
So
think sorry.
I was just saying, so basically from what you're telling me, we've got one that we're on the cusp of a free, almost free,
Yep.
energy with no pollution associated with it. Two, that we're going to have a lot more women who are going to have medical supports when they're delivering their child. So that's a great thing. And three, that IA is going to become more and more useful as a tool for us.
Yep.
Is that
And it is going to displace jobs. Certainly it is. Technology always does. Is it going to make humanity obsolete? No. Is it going to make us challenge ourselves and say, how are we unique? Is the fact that we can remember stuff? And there's a problem with that too, because we know as we age, we remember less. We know that our memory is very fickle. When I was in coma, the things I remember from being in coma are as real to me as you and I talking right now. I cannot separate that imaginary experience from this one. And I've talked to lots of people who have been in induced coma or coma through accidents, and many of them have exactly the same experience. The reality there is exactly the same as the reality that we are having right at this moment. I could still be in coma for all I know. So we have the option, and I think that's one of the things that makes us unique, how we interpret our reality, which is incredibly powerful.
very true
And unique to us.
What was the last thing, Scott?
I said, I think that that's very incredible and unique to us, and we should embrace that. And that's what should take away from the chat bot and the AI experience and Skynet and all those things. Rather than be scared of what it's going to take away from us, look at what it can give us, what it can free us up from, and find value in the things that are truly unique.
Right.
And maybe we can move farther away from our animal selves to a more enlightened version of humanity, which sounds like an amazing, hopeful thing to me.
Does. I mean, the more and more that technology takes burdens away from humans, right, and makes it where there's more potential for them to, serve, connect, be involved with other humans in like the caring type arts, if you will, right? How you take care of people, how do you make sure that people get their needs met and they got enough food and they got enough medical supports and they have enough emotional supports and those kind of things. So I think that's a positive type thing.
I think so too, Alan. I think that I saw another quote when I was researching for this show, and it said, every year at New Year's, we make resolutions to make ourselves different. This year, make the resolution to be happy with yourself the way you are.
Oh, that's nice. That's beautiful. Yeah, I love
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And maybe that's what this whole AI thing is teaching us as a species, is to learn more how to make ourselves happy being with what we are inside and the things that truly make us unique. As you said, our ability to love and our ability to care and our ability to share, and focus on those things and creating opportunities of value out of those things that make us truly unique.
Beautiful. Beautifully said, Scott Sweetman.
I think so. And a perfect example of that is horses. You look at the horses that Corolla trains now, you look at the beautiful Arabs and Morgans and society breeds that I got to show when I was in the US. They're a long way from when horses were our primary source of power. A horse's life was to work itself to death, basically. And, the horses we have now have greater freedom. They have greater health. There are, many opportunities to grow. And, I know horse training now, we don't break horses anymore. We help them grow into better athletes. We train them how to use their bodies. We teach them how to obtain greater expressions of themselves, and that's when they truly excel at being the best they can be. And that's what Corolla, I'm sure, would agree that that's what the top trainers do, is to bring out the best in their horses and help the horse realize their abilities and their gifts in the best way they can. And that's a huge shift from when horses were basically disposable, right? They were tied to a wagon and hauled everything everywhere, and when they were done, they were just cut up and used for dog food or whatever they could best be used for. So I think people are that way. We will lose some of our workhorse responsibilities, but that should free us up to do greater things and learn more and become better. So I see that as a positive thing. You agree, Al? We're there? We're good with that?
I agree. I think you've raised my optimism for 2023, Scott Sweetman. Good job, buddy.
I got another one. This one is incredible. This one blew me away. We're getting closer to cancer vaccines.
Vaccines.
Mm-hmm. Yes, seriously. For a long time, scientists, researchers, myself, I've had 3 people in my family die from cancer. Wasn't a pretty situation for any of them. And I always wondered, all the money we raised for cancer, my whole life we've been raising money for cancer research. And I've always wondered, like, why, how has it taken so many lifetimes, so much research, so many resources, and we still haven't really made progress? Well, the fact is we have. And I was really excited to see this because, and the area they've made research in, and I don't want to make light of this, they're not closer necessarily to a cure for cancer, but a lot of people are predisposed to cancer. I know that when I go into the hospital, they always say, "Oh, have you had a family member who's died from cancer?" Well, yes. Then the suggestion is then that I'm more predisposed to getting cancer and those types of things. So we've known for a long time that some individuals are at a higher risk of cancer. And one area of research has been looking into possible ways to immunize individuals that are a higher risk, possibly along the same vein, providing a cure to cancers they're already showing themselves in people. Have to absorb that for a minute. Look at the parameters we're talking about there. And until recently, almost no progress at all. But there's been promising results. And this is an article in Moderna, which is a medical publication, that researchers have had really positive results along the lines of creating immunizations that may also work on active cancer cells. And it's really exciting because they've performed trials in this area, and mid-trial reports were released this year, and they were positive. The mid-trial reports showed, and we'll get the results in 2023 of the study that's going on in multiple areas. But the mid-trials tell us that in 2023, we may get some very good news for people that are high risk of cancer, or people that are showing cancer growth already. And that's incredibly great news and a reason to look forward to 2023 in my books.
That is awesome. I just wanted to say hi to Julia Martinez Candy Pangilian. I think that's how you pronounce it. Hi to you, Julia. So that is really good news, Scott. Yeah, that's awesome. Is
pretty
that
exciting stuff, eh?
Yes, that is. So four big things in addition to the Year of the Rabbit information. 4 big things that you shared here tonight, eh?
I have a couple more. Do we have time, or are we out of time? We got one big thing to talk about, the Hopeifiers in 2023. So that's going to take about 4 minutes.
Okay, let's do that now. We're 48 minutes. So let's do that now.
Okay, so to all of our faithful viewers and friends and people that tune in either live, or a lot of people look at us recorded and later and sort of pick through what they want to look at, we're going to be making a little bit of change here. Our host, the acapellist, Alan Friesen, myself, Scott Sweetman, co-host, we're going to make a little bit of change. We're going to rename ourselves, and we're going to refocus a little bit in 2023 to improve the excitement, the energy, and the benefit to all of you that turn in to view us. Excited, Al?
I am. It sounds great, Scott.
Okay, so we're going to as you know, we've been the Hopeifiers for a few years now. The Acapellist had a different co-host before me, and he became really busy. And I was hanging around begging to be a part of it and help out. So Al took pity on me and said, "Oh, sure, okay, I'll let you join me on the show." And so I got pretty excited about that. So we've been talking about hope for a few years now, and it's been incredibly interesting. But Alan and I would really like to share with you a little bit broader scope of positive things and things that we're involved in and do research on. So we're going to rename ourselves, and we're going to call ourselves H Cubed. And that's a really interesting name. And we hope that generates some interest out there and gets people to say, hey, what are they talking about? What does H Cubed mean? And what are those crazy guys from Hopeifiers doing in 2023? Well, H cubed is really H to the third power. And Al and I are jacked because we're going to be talking about, our topics are going to be about hope, health, and happiness in our lives. That's amazing. That's our three, the power of three, hope to the power of three. And so we're going to be refocusing on those topics. We'll still be the positive spot on your Thursday evening that you can tune in and be guaranteed to hear something that's going to be positive. Sometimes you talk about things that aren't so positive immediately, but they're going to have a positive outcome. Cancer's not so positive, but we found out that this year we've seen some great increasements in it. So things like that are always good here on our Thursday nights. I think we're staying at the same time now, aren't we? Same day?
Yes, we are, sir.
Excellent.
And also, if you have feedback for us, if you have ideas, well, let us know. My cell phone number's there, and here is my email address here. So buzz me an email if you have some suggestions, thoughts, ideas. You want to be on the show. You're an expert in something, and you say, "Hey, I know how to help people have hope. Come on, we'll have you. We will welcome you on with us. So come and join us."
Well, and that's the really cool part about H cubed. As I said, it's three. And as you know, it's usually Al and I, but we hope by redirecting ourselves to hope, health, and happiness that we can involve more of you, our viewers and guest speakers, to come in with us and talk about things that you know more about than we do, which is almost everything. So we really hope that this will give an opportunity for a more interactive environment and show for all of you. And like Al said, we are very open to hear your ideas, criticisms, concepts. Get involved, because our purpose in this is really just to spread hope and happiness throughout the listening community and give people some ideas of what they can share with their friends and family. So 2023.
We're super excited about 2023. We hope you are going to have a healthy, happy 2023. And Scott, take us home there, buddy.
Well, I want to say that we'll be back January 12th. Isn't that right? We're taking a little bit of break. Instead of the 5th, we'll be back the 12th.
I don't care. What do you want to do?
We'll publish it. I don't care either. You want to go?
Well,
Want to go the 5th? Are you good?
Next week is the what? 4th? January 4th?
Yeah. 5th.
You get the research done. We'll do it next week. How's that sound?
Excellent. That's perfect. Sounds good to me. We'll be here on the 5th then, next Thursday, whatever date that is. I don't have a calendar in front of me. Alexa, when is next Thursday?
January 5th falls on a Thursday, 7 days
January.
from today.
Thanks, Alexa. Cancel.
And so
help us out again. It's the
Want to
5th.
tell you, Julia is burning up the chat here. She says H3. She says, I like your talk show. Hope, health, and happiness sounds good. All right, Julia, sounds good to you as well. So that's great.
Thanks,
Okay.
Julia. And we encourage more people in 2023 to get on here with the host of our show, Alan Friesen, the acapellist, the one and only acapellist, and myself, Scott Sweetman, wishing you all an amazing year to come and a gentle, loving, hopeful close to 2022. Take care, everyone.